Wish you were here.
I am here.
I don't. Hi. I'm just reading some mail that I got. Got a postcard sent to me. Yeah, it looks
Finally.
like. Yeah, I just got it. So this is nice. This is from a distillery.
What distillery?
Journeyman Distillery. And some people were there apparently in Michigan, and a group of people filled out a card and sent it to me. And so there's a big sign, obviously written, a big message written obviously by a woman. It says, "Wish you were here!" ! And then one says, "I don't." That was Michelle. Allie wrote her name with a heart. Andrew said, "Hi, Andrew." I don't know why you said hi, Andrew. Greg gave me a heart. I don't know who that is. TFZ?
No, that's my signature.
Okay, so what's this?
That's my signature.
No, I get the J. I get the F. What's that?
Owler.
That's the okay. Got it. And then who's that?
Let me see it. Bring it closer.
It's like Kevin. It says Kevin.
Wait, who is that?
I don't even know. So
that's not Allison.
Oh, is that Alice? That must be Allison. Okay.
Yeah, but
it looks like a K.
Yeah, I understand the A, but Allison. It looks like she's got a Y in her name, but she doesn't have a Y. In her name.
So Jimmy and all of his friends, or I'm sorry, just a small portion of his many friends, went to this distillery without me. But they sent me this postcard, which then really made me feel nice because it meant they were thinking of me.
We were thinking of you.
Even if they're mocking me.
We did not mock you.
No, I'm just saying. Even if you were mocking me.
We were not.
And like throwing it in my face like, Hey, we're here having a good time and you're at home crying by yourself because nobody likes you. Even if it's that, you were still thinking of me. Speaking of me, my name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jim Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
And this is Doctrine and Devotion. It's a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. What is going on, man?
Nothing. I've been sitting here waiting for when this moment would happen.
It came in on Friday, so that would have been yesterday as of recording.
Yeah, that's so great. It's so great.
I saw that and I was like, oh, nice. I'm going to put that on my dash so I bring it in the morning.
We thought you'd get a kick out of that.
I did. I liked it very much.
And then we're like, well, do we just do one or we could all do one?
So I get like six or
so
whatever.
You get 6 of them. And then we're like, well, the company, the distillery is paying for the postage and everything. And I'm like, no, okay, that's just, that's overkill for no reason.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to.
Plus then I'm like, how am I going to fill out a whole card? Do you know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
Well, yeah, how are we all going to fill, like if each one gives you one, it's just, hi, Joe, Jimmy.
Yeah, we don't say hi, Joe. You say something like, ha, loser.
Why would we do that?
That's how you fill it out, though.
No, no.
Listen, I've gotten some horrible, hateful messages and mail from the time I was in junior high till today. So I'm used to it. It'd be fine.
Well, we don't do that.
Okay, good.
Good.
No, it's good. I appreciate that.
We sincerely, we're thinking of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's good. You were thinking about me last night. You asked if I wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
We
had a last minute thing.
I couldn't. I was already.
No, I know. But like we had all of a sudden.
And by the way, for anybody who starts saying, like, I actually did have plans. I was taking my son out for dinner. I took my daughters out for a movie. I actually
he already had plans.
No.
And it was very last minute. It was like, oh, the kids are gone. Let's go out.
And what did you guys wind up doing?
Well, we went out for dinner and hung out with another family, another couple. But no, I mean, like, we're thinking of you because I was like, oh, Michelle, let's go do an escape room. Let's go do the Bigfoot escape room.
Right.
And she goes, just us? I go, yeah. And she goes, nobody else? I'm like, yeah, just us. And she's just staring at me. I'm like, you think I'm too dumb. You think I won't be able to contribute in this.
But listen,
she's like, no, we have to like finish it. And I think with 2 people, it's just not as fun. I'm like, all right, no.
There's no way she thinks you're not smart enough to finish it.
No. Because then she's like, is Joe available? And I'm like, oh, so you and Joe could go and you guys could do it. And she goes, well, he knows a lot about Bigfoot.
That's the Bigfoot room.
It's the Bigfoot room. She's like, he's got a lot of knowledge that's a bit of an asset here.
Yeah. A bit of what?
An asset.
Oh. Yeah.
What'd you think I said?
I don't know. So yeah, you didn't. So did you go? Did you go do the
Bigfoot?
Yeah.
No.
No, you didn't do it. Okay.
No, because you weren't there.
All right.
And because my wife thinks I'm too dumb.
Okay. Well, you know, it's not often that you're pegged for dumb. That's not common.
It really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get a little humble pie is good, you know.
I guess,
Yeah.
but I was like, I'm pretty good at these rooms. Like,
But
why would you not?
If your wife thinks you're dumb, what does that make her?
My wife is brilliant.
For a Canadian. She still has a Canadian email account. I was like, I'm like working with her. We're trying to bring in a speaker she's trying to bring in a speaker for the women's retreat. And I'm like, so what email should I use? She goes, oh, either one's fine. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know your emails.
Yeah, well,
I just know you have a Canadian one, which I'm not about to use. It's embarrassing.
Well, I'm going to stop right here. What's the other one she has?
The women's men one.
Oh gosh, I was like, I don't even know about her second email.
But she shouldn't have the first one. Why does she have a .ca email? And it's like Hotmail.
No, it's
.ca.
not. It used to be that.
Okay, whatever it is, it's still embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Seriously.
I don't know. I told her just get like a Gmail one and forward, have that one forward.
Yeah, do that
as
for like
it
a
phases
year.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay, I don't know. I'm rethinking the whole Michelle leading women's ministry thing based on that email.
Because of the Canadian aspect of it.
It's very off-putting. You don't have freedom up there. You know, I don't know.
All right, so what movie did you guys watch?
We went and saw. It's like a foreign film.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
like subtitles kind of thing, a
Yeah.
very sophisticated.
When I watch foreign films, I don't even use the subtitles. I just try to learn the language. You know, that's how I do it.
I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna make fun of you for that because I do that too.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
See, you're not dumb. You're smart like me.
Yeah, but I try to figure out okay, what's the plot here? Oh, they said that kind of angry. They're upset. Now that works everywhere I go except Russia because everything.
Well, that's weird.
Is anger.
This is funny because we didn't talk about this, but this was actually it's like I think it was a Russian film.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Crick.
What?
Yeah.
Crick?
Crick. K-R-I-K. Crick. It's Russian. It means scream. Yeah.
So wait, hold on. You watched a Russian film named Crick, which means scream.
Yeah.
But isn't there a movie that just came out called Scream?
Yeah. Maybe we saw that one.
So you didn't go see a Russian film. You watched Scream.
We watched Scream. It was all right. The girls wanted to see it, and so yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, people just talk through the movie. I don't get all the talk, and it's not like, oh look out, like it's not that. It's like, Jamie's not texting me back, and I don't know. Like, oh my gosh, really? Listen, I want to start ripping people's hats off their heads and yelling at them when they do that during the trailers. Imagine how I feel when they're doing that in the middle of the movie.
No, I know a couple talkers.
Yeah, I know you do. You're friends of yours.
Couple talkers in the midst of watching something.
Yeah,
it is super annoying.
Now the way, because I've heard about some of these experiences, and it sounds like when you have these grown men, fathers.
Yeah.
When you're watching movies with them, they ask you questions like a 7-year-old would ask you questions during a movie.
Which is ironic because one of them has a 10-year-old that does the same thing and he gets annoyed by it. I'm like, you are that man.
Hypocrite.
I'm like Nathan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
You are that man.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? How are you annoyed by this? You do this to me every single time. Every single time. And so we took the families, we went to watch the new Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
And he knows it annoys me, sat next to me. And just within the first 5 minutes was like, so is that Peter Parker? I'm like, no. And I started getting upset. And he just started
Oh, at least he knows it. That's good.
He knows
he
it.
Have fun with it.
Just really bugs me.
So we got to talk about evangelism. You know, we're gearing up for the conference, the Reforming Evangelism Conference, coming up on January 29th.
Yeah, I was about to say
very soon.
I was about to say then I got the wrong.
You got
tickets.
us the wrong tickets.
I got us the wrong tickets.
Yeah,
the wrong hotel dates.
Okay.
And
let's just go anyways.
And our car booking is wrong.
Okay. So yes, January 29th in Burleson, Texas. You can just check out the website, doctrineanddevotion.com/SW conference for all of the details. But
did you get your ticket? I
got the email.
Okay, good. You got the email.
All ready to go. Super excited.
You download the app?
Is it the American app? No,
Yeah.
I have to download. I have the United app. But I got to download. Will the United app work on the American tickets? Does that work?
Because I know what's exactly going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Is we're going to get there. And you'll be like, how do I? Where's you? And you'll say this. You'll be like, where? I don't the ticket. How do I? And I'll go, well, Joe, I
have
sent it to
never
you.
in my life.
And
not
then you
once.
say this. Then you say this. Ready?
What's that?
See, I usually handle these things. I don't handle these things.
Yeah.
That's your like.
Yeah. I don't do this. How would I know?
So I'm just trying
But
to
here's the
prepare
thing.
you.
I have never struggled with. Are you gonna let me finish?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let go of the pearls around your neck. You don't have to clutch them right now.
Here we go.
Little old lady.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for a fight.
I have never once struggled with check-in on a flight. My phone has always got the thing on it. Every flight I've ever done, check-in, no problem.
So hold on. That's there's two steps here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about checking on the plane. Like you're talking about like getting like when you do the thing to get on the plane, right?
Before that.
No. The security part you struggle with.
But that's not what you're talking about.
I'm talking about yes, you got to show the thing before you go through.
I have everything on my phone. The only thing the only struggle that I have is like you try to take me through your fancy rich guy stuff, and I don't have that. And you're like, they'll just let you go on. Don't worry about it. And then I get out, and they're like, they yell at me, "Get out of here, you trailer trash!" And I have to go to the back of the line. Anyway,
dude, I do that to everybody. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's fine. They'll let you on. Don't worry about it. Just hold my hand. He does that. Jimmy makes me hold his hand. He's like, just hold my hand. They'll think you're like we're together. So I have to hold his hand through the whole airport so that we build up a reputation. And then we finally get there holding hands. And then they look at me and they look at him. And they're like, I don't buy it. And then they just say no.
Yeah. So for years I've been telling Michelle, just go take care of it. Get the status.
And you've been telling me the same thing.
It's the same thing. And so like when we travel with all the kids, I'll do that to her too. Let's just all go. Let's just all go.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. And they're like, no. She can't come through. And so me and the kid, I'm like, all right, kids, say bye.
Say bye to mommy.
Say bye to mommy. Mommy, the line's back there. Go by the poor people. Let's go, kids. And Ariana's like, bye, mommy.
Oh, and your wife's like, oh, it's just like I'm back in Canada.
But then I take her bag through so that she could just walk instead of.
Oh,
like,
it's very kind of you.
I take her bag and go through because security for me is a lot easier.
Well, some people are afraid to fly. Some people face certain obstacles when we fly. You know, we have
like sitting in the back,
like just being small, short-legged, whatever. So today,
I'll be joining you.
Oh, you have short legs.
Well, no, I'm thinking like. Because I don't have the American, I don't have the status with American Airlines,
right?
Like I do with other airlines.
You're just a regular Jimmy. I can't wait. I'm gonna video this whole
dude. We're
thing.
like I think it's row 29.
I don't think you're usually back past 12.
No, row 29. I'm trying to think like when I came back from Vegas once, I didn't even know there was like a row 40 something.
Yeah, that's where I'm usually at.
There's 40 rows on a flight.
The nice thing is when I'm that far back, I usually have the privilege of boarding in group 7. So yeah, it's really nice. All right, we got to talk about evangelism. People are going to get annoyed because we're just hanging out. This is not banter of truth. This is doctrine and devotion.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so one of our recent episodes when we were talking about evangelism, we alluded to some fears and some obstacles, and we wanted to talk through some of that and provide some solutions, some answers or responses to these things.
Okay.
Because these are the things that come up. So when we're talking about fears, we got a few listed. There are going to be others, but we're going to mention 4 of them, and we'll talk about some obstacles, mental obstacles, and preparatory obstacles, and ways that we can overcome them. Because all of us are called to bear witness to Jesus. We're all called, and I think we all do want to, on some level, we want to tell people about Jesus, but there are certain things that get in the way. So let's talk about some fears and how we deal with those fears.
Sure. I think one of the fears is rejection, right? Mm-hmm. As you're sharing the gospel, as you're presenting the gospel, someone gives you the hard no.
Yeah.
Like a hard no.
Yeah. They are sometimes rejecting the message. Sometimes they're rejecting you.
Yeah. And so like there is that, like, I mean, it takes a bit of effort, right? It does take a bit of boldness.
Yeah, some confidence.
And some confidence to kind of put yourself out there, right? Now, our confidence and trust is in the Lord, in the Holy Spirit, doing the work. This is the gospel. It's not our work. We're just presenting what God has already done and what God is doing. But there is still, it's intimidating.
And one of the things that we, I think, have to get used to is that rejection is a normal part of life. and I can make jokes about like, like in high school, like experience rejection all the time, like anytime I talk to a girl. But the reality is it's supposed to be a normal. You're supposed to get no's in life. And and anybody who's ever made progress in their career, anybody who's ever found success in certain areas, know that the word no, N-O, is a part of that process.
That's right.
In fact, there are people out there that do these disciplined experiments where they intentionally go into situations and ask for things that they're 99.9% sure the answer is going to be no, to train themselves to get comfortable with it, to get used to it. And then there are oftentimes...
I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. People do it on TikTok.
Wow. Okay.
And so, and these are people that have, like there was one girl who she went through a bad breakup and she was really struggling with confidence and all of that. And so she just started going. She would walk into the fire shop and she'd go, "Hey, listen, can I turn on the siren?" Or, they walk into these places and say, "Hey,
fire shop?
What do you call it? With the guys that fight the fire, what's that called? Fire station?"
That is amazing.
Is it a fire station?
That was amazing. It took me a moment. I was like,
"What's a fire shop?"
What is a fire shop?
They sell fire. They do things there.
You got here's a birchwood fire.
Mm-hmm.
Here's
good.
Oak fire.
Chemical fire.
Here's maple.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think part of dealing with that fear of rejection is to say, okay, this is a given. I should expect people to say no. In fact, you can tell yourself this: I am confident that everyone will reject this message unless God is at work on their hearts, because that's the reality. And so if you know that going into it, you can say like, okay, they're likely to reject it, but they won't have the opportunity to even respond to it positively if we aren't taking this message to them.
And I think that's really key right there, because when I hear, sometimes some people, they have this mentality of like, well, it's not going to work out anyways, so why try?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
that's not what Joe is saying. Joe's not saying like go and expect like you. I think in the midst of it, be hopeful,
right?
But knowing like Jesus told us this.
Yeah. My
people
point
will
is
reject him.
Everybody will reject you unless God is at work.
Yes.
And so your hope is like, oh, I can, and this is going to relate to the next fear. But when you therefore you should have confidence in sharing the message, because that is what God does. That's what God uses to lead people to Christ. Is He uses your imperfect presentations of the gospel.
Which then goes to number 2.
Failure.
But
I think a lot of us are afraid to share the gospel, to preach the gospel, because we're afraid we're going to fail. We're going to mess it up. Like we're going to get it wrong. We're going to do a bad job because like Moses, maybe we're inarticulate. We stumble over our words. We think, maybe we think we'll fail because of, listen, a lot of us think we'll fail because not only do we have maybe not enough training or whatever, or maybe we're not articulate, maybe we think we don't have enough knowledge, but also I think people think that we will fail to gain a hearing because of who we are. Right? We think like, oh, well, I'm not in that class of person right there, that I wouldn't talk to that person because I'll just fail. That person clearly has money because I can see their car, which, by the way, does not mean they have money. It just means they have a nice car.
Yep.
A lot of people have nice cars, have no money. Or like, oh, they're like, I'm just going to fail because, they're a different race, or they come from a different, background. And so we kind of talk ourselves out of sharing the gospel because we're afraid of just falling flat for a whole host of reasons, most of which really don't hold up, because the only way you can really take the gospel down from, how do I say this? The only way that you can mess up the gospel in such a way that God can't convert somebody is by not sharing the gospel. Like in other words, you're going to share the gospel imperfectly, but if you're sharing the gospel, if you're actually talking to them about Christ, however imperfect it may be, you can't fail if you're faithful. Now, obviously, you're not being faithful if your gospel presentation doesn't have gospel in it. If you're telling people, oh, well, listen, God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life, so just as long as you're good enough and try hard enough, then God will accept you. That's not the gospel.
Yeah.
But as long as you're hitting the basics, and we're going to talk about how to do this, like what you should be talking about when preaching the gospel in a future episode. But you can't, I guess the fear of failure is understandable because we fail in life and we know that people write us off. But if you are faithful to share the gospel, however imperfect, however I've shared the gospel and messed it up royally over the years, where it's just like, that was a mess. I don't know how that could have possibly have done anything. But God uses messed up, screwed up presentations of the gospel all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Jimmy has to stand up. What are you doing?
No, I just got to stretch.
Oh,
just got to stretch.
You got a notification on your phone?
Whatever.
What happened?
Well, don't worry about it.
Oh, you got slipping into too low of a heart rate?
No, I'm keeping my streak alive.
Okay. Getting your steps in?
Well, no, I got to get my steps in. But yeah,
okay.
Got to get my stuff.
So, what are some other fears?
I think loss, right? And I think in that one, there's that loss of relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, because sometimes as people reject Christ, they reject you and they, leave you and they don't want anything to do with you anymore, right? And so I think some people fear that. Like, how is this going to change the dynamics of the relationship? How are they going to think of me? Are they going to think that, a couple things. One, sometimes people fear like, hey, they're going to not want to hang out with me because they're going to think I'm weird, which I think is, we're going to be weird. The world,
we're weird.
We are weird.
Yeah.
Listen, we preach a gospel that God himself took on flesh. He dwelt among us.
Yep.
He lived for us. He died for us. He rose and ascended into heaven. Like, this is definitely something that is, it talks about it, right? Like, this is folly. Like, people
to the world, yeah,
to
totally.
the world, yeah. And so, so sometimes like we think, okay, now people are going to treat us or look at us differently. So I think there's a dynamic that maybe there's a loss in relationship.
Yeah, I think if you've ever. I think most Christians have experienced this, right? You can lose the relationship by losing any connection to the person. They can write you off, but you can also lose the relationship in that they now relate to you differently, and now like what you had before is changed. Like,
That's good.
I've heard this from different people. Now, maybe this says something bad about me. I don't know, but I hear a lot of Christians say, "Hey, listen, man, when people find out I'm a pastor or a Christian, all of a sudden they stop swearing around me." And now some of them think that's really cool. And some of them are like, I don't want them to have to change how they're talking. I don't really care. But people change up how they talk. And it's like they start to be extra careful around them and they're not themselves as much. Now, I've experienced that, but to a much lesser percentage. I would say 1 out of 20 might be like, oh, wow, I didn't know you're a pastor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the cursing, and I won't curse anymore. So it's interesting. You can lose the relationship in terms of its character, right? It's not that the person is gone, but like everything is different now, and now they're going to be more guarded. They're not going to be as honest with you, and so I get that that's a fear. But for me. Well, in fact, I'll let you go. I'll let you go first on this because I don't want to steal your thunder on how you deal with the fear or the threat of loss.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that.
Okay.
I was going to say I think also along with that, then like the relationship changing. I think sometimes we're afraid because that loss, the change in the dynamic, because maybe we don't want people to think that we're treating them like a project.
Yeah, totally. And we don't.
We're not.
Don't want to. Yeah,
we're not. Like we shouldn't be treating them like a project, like a stat, like, hey, I did my evangelism this week.
Yeah,
right?
I got to hit my numbers.
But sometimes I think, inadvertently people feel that.
Yeah. And sometimes that's on us because of the way we go about it.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally get that. And for me, like my experience was I was converted and I was like Mr. Evangelist. I told everybody about Jesus who would listen. I didn't care if they would listen. I would tell them. And I wasn't good at it, of course, but I did it. And I had many, many, many opportunities to talk to groups of people spontaneously about the faith. I would go to where people hang out and I would just talk to them. My friends and I would go. We would do this sort of a thing. And then over the years, I shifted away from that. And I noticed that I became much better at building relationships with people and then valuing those relationships. And I noticed I was slow at that point. Once there was any kind of relationship, I was slower to share the gospel because I didn't want to lose the relationship. I didn't want to put the relationship in jeopardy. And it took God convicting me in very specific ways to finally come to the place where I realized it's worth the risk.
Yes.
It's worth risking the relationship because if I don't risk the relationship, then they really may not have the opportunity to hear the gospel. Who else is going to tell them? I don't know. It's easy to go, well, so God will bring somebody else.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know what the plan is. So is it I value the relationship. I love them, but do I love them enough to risk this relationship? What's most important? And so then I think that is, for me, was a good shift in dealing with that particular fear. Is value the relationship, but in the end, it's worth the risk. There's also persecution. I mean, some people are afraid of persecution. They're afraid of getting beat up or slapped or dismissed or mocked or belittled or whatever it is. And that's a kind of rejection. It's a bit more intense. It's not just a dismissal. It's a bit more pointed, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody who isn't on some level afraid of those kinds of consequences. That's a natural thing. But the question is not like, oh, are you afraid of this potential response of loss in some ways, but this where they're really coming at you? Are you allowing that fear then to dictate what you do? Because the call is to not have, the call of Jesus is to not experience 0% fear in any of these dangerous situations that you might find yourself in. It's what will I do when I face that fear? Can I be faithful? Can I persevere through it? I mean, it's what I teach my kids, right? It's like Killian, our youngest, he has some social anxieties like I do. And I said, it's okay to feel anxious and to have some fears, like you can feel that, but now what are you going to do with it? How do you manage it? Are you going to be brave? Because bravery isn't not having fear, but it's standing up and doing the right thing, doing the hard thing in the midst of fear, and that's okay. And it's the same. It relates the same way, I think, to the fear of persecution when it comes to evangelism.
So then what are some of those obstacles then to evangelism, right?
Right.
Like we got the fears as far as rejection, failure, loss, and persecution. But what about obstacles?
Yeah,
that stand in the way?
Because you could think of fear as an obstacle, but not all obstacles are fears, right?
Yeah,
So if we're talking about mental obstacles, I think there's a few that come to mind. One of the mental obstacles, again, this is not a fear, but it's something that gets in the way of us sharing the gospel, is the mentality that I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And this breaks down into a couple of different things. One is I don't have enough time because I'm super busy. And I don't have time to give to this person or to give to this cause. I don't have time. I can't make the time. I don't have it. And which is an easy out. And it's one that I know well. I've used it myself.
Yeah.
So there's that. And the other way that takes shape is when we say, like, well, I don't have enough time to get into it. I only have 5 minutes. So since I don't have enough time to unpack all the mysteries of the Bible, I can't
take them down the Romans road.
Yeah, so listen, I'm only going to get through 2 verses. We got Romans 3:23, Romans 6:23. Like, what am I supposed to do then? By the way, that's plenty.
Yeah.
That's plenty. So that not having enough time is an obstacle. And on the one hand, I think the way we deal with that obstacle is to say, I have to create a flexibility and a margin. I have to embrace a flexibility and a margin in my life where I can decide, you know what, I'm going to make a sacrifice here and give some time to this situation. You can't always do it. There will be times when you can't move. There's no room. It's an important thing. You have to go. But oftentimes when we think we don't have time or flexibility in our schedule, we do. We just don't want to make it. We don't want to create it. So I think we have to learn to embrace margin, learn to embrace flexibility. One of the pastors in my life really pressed me on this because I was so rigid. I had a very tight schedule, a very tight way of doing things, and I'm just uptight in general. And he was like, "You need to learn to flex." And I was like, yeah, but you need to learn to be a little more rigid because you have no structure whatsoever. But that was my way of deflecting because he was right. Yeah, I needed to flex. And then when it comes to, like, I don't have enough time to prepare or to share the whole gospel with them. Well, you don't know. Share as much as you can.
Yes.
It's like if I have 5 minutes, I'm going to start to share. And if they all of a sudden, hey, sorry, I gotta run. I just got a call. And all I did was shared with them like that the wrath of God hangs over the heads of sinful men and women, and that we are going to be judged by God because of our corrupt hearts. And then they got to go. Okay.
Well, you planted the seed.
There you go. And it's a seed of despair, but that prepares them for the gospel. So I'm not presuming when I start that I'm not presuming like, well, God will just bring somebody else. I'm saying, God put me here, so I'm going to share as much as I can. And if all I get is through the law and not to the gospel, okay, then I have to trust that God will bring somebody else or bring them back into my life to continue to share.
I mean, I think another mental obstacle is when people tell themselves like they don't have enough experience.
Oh, yeah.
Witnessing or evangelizing, which, I mean, at some point that's true. You didn't have enough experience. And so they think, okay, I'm going to mess it up, or I don't know how to go about this. I don't have enough reps.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do what you can with what you have, and over time, you're going to find a better groove, a better way of doing it, like
of course.
A more natural way. And experience only comes from actually experiencing it.
Right. Yeah. You're never going to have enough experience if you don't start.
That's it.
You will never get there.
Yep.
And that's what I love. I love reading those passages in the Gospels when people's lives are changed by Jesus and they just start talking. And sometimes he's like, hey, knock it off. Okay. I don't want to draw attention to myself right now. I'm trying to be chill. Shut up. Don't call me the Christ in front of everybody. Don't do that.
I don't know if he said shut up.
Well, in the Greek.
Yeah.
Shateo. It's like, hey, let's be quiet. Like this is, but it's like, it's really hard for me not to just say what I know.
Yeah, just trying to throw it out there.
Like all I know is Jesus came up to me.
I was blind, now I see.
And now I can see everything.
That's all I know.
Behold the servant of the Lord. Like it's just, you share what you can. So yeah, the not enough experience thing, we all get it, but no, listen, who has enough experience?
Yeah, really.
You talk to seasoned evangelists, and they would say, I got plenty of experience. I know how to do this. But ask them if they're perfect. They're going to say, well, no, of course not. No, I still mess up. So you're not going to have enough experience. I think another mental obstacle is that some people get caught up in guilt and they think like, I don't have enough purity. Like I'm not a
good example.
I'm not a good Christian.
Yeah.
So how could I talk to somebody about?
I'm such a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I struggle. I lack faith. I despair.
Yeah. I've had people say like, well, I'm just, listen, those guys hear me cuss up a storm when I'm in a bad mood. So how can I tell them about Jesus? And it's like, well, first of all, whatever your sin issues are, people are going to see those. Like if you have any kind of relationship with people, they're going to see your sins, and your faith is not about how good you are, but about how good Jesus is.
That's right.
It's not about your righteousness; it's about His righteousness, and you care about righteousness, and you want to be righteous, and you're striving towards that, but by faith. But no, do you think you're not pure enough? The truth is, because of the work of justification, you are pure enough. You've been purified. You've been forgiven of your sins. You've received the righteousness of Christ. And so now, as God's purified vessel before Him, you are holy and blameless. You are equipped and empowered to share this message. So, and I think your current ongoing sins actually highlight your need for Jesus.
Yes.
Like, I talk about a Savior that I need, not just that you need.
Yeah,
like,
we're in this together.
Yeah, look at you. Who are you to tell me about Jesus? Yeah, I'm worse than you.
Yep.
That's the point. If Jesus can save me,
He could save you.
Yeah, okay. What's going on? What are you looking at?
I just saw people showing up.
You're so distracted.
Well, first I was looking at my boots, my Chelsea boots, but it just doesn't matter.
Chelsea's boots?
Chelsea boots.
Why are they named after a woman? Why are you wearing women's shoes?
Anyways.
Let me see your boots. Let me see.
Why?
I want to see. You're talking about these boots now. I want to see them. I like those. They're like chukkas. Okay.
Yeah. A little slightly different, but yeah.
What's the difference? What's it? Define chukka. You don't know.
First of all, you're not going to come at me with shoes.
Okay, define it.
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to play your game.
Yeah, you can't do it. That's what it is.
I can't do it.
Oh, really?
I can't do it.
No Google. Let's go.
No, I'm not going to Google. My hands are here.
Okay,
My hands are here.
Yeah.
You know what, Joey? I'm not going to play your game.
Okay,
you're not going to do this to me.
That's what
you're not going to do this to me.
This is how you back out of a challenge.
I'm not going to back out. But it has to do with the length here.
No, that's a chukka.
That's not a chukka.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. It's not a chukka. It's not a chukka.
Yep.
Not a chukka. Google it.
I can tell you what a chukka is.
Go ahead.
A chukka is a pull-up boot that you don't have to tie, and it can be a low top or a high top.
So is Chelsea.
Chelsea is a brand. Isn't Chelsea a brand?
No, it's a Chelsea. But oh, darn it.
Chelsea.
I almost knocked this thing over. I almost pulled the thing over.
Okay, Chelsea, chukka, and nobody cares about this. We'll look it up, and then we'll settle it on the next episode. All right, so you're wrong.
I am right. See, right. I love how you deflected that.
We'll talk about it later. But I'm right, you're wrong.
All right. Well, we talked about mental obstacles, right? Not enough time, not enough experience, the feeling of not enough purity, but there's also preparatory obstacles.
Right.
Like neglecting prayer.
That does become an obstacle.
That is
to
like
evangelism.
going in cold.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and because we don't know when those opportunities are going to arise,
Right.
we must constantly be prepared by prayer to pursue the position
and the promulgation of
proclaiming
the gospel. Yeah, there you go. See? And how does prayer prepare you? Prepare you? How does prayer prepare somebody for evangelism, or how does not praying? How does that become an obstacle?
Well, I think two ways. One, I think prayer really highlights and gives us this posture of dependence upon God.
Yes,
right?
I think that's for me. We didn't talk about this. That's the biggest one for me personally.
Yeah, it's this posture of this dependence upon God that even as I go about in proclaiming His gospel, it's only by His power and the opportunities that He gives.
Yeah.
Right? So there's already this dependence that it's not in my oratory skills, or it's not in how I can kind of work this out and convince the individual, but it's only by the power of the Holy Spirit. So it already establishes this posture of dependence on the Holy Spirit.
That's good.
But I also think, second, it gives us an awareness then.
Right.
Because if you're praying for it, you're more likely to recognize the opportunities that God is presenting for you to walk in that, right?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're not praying, you're not dependent, is what you're saying. And if you're not praying, you're not aware, like you're not oriented.
You're not. Yeah.
And so, the obstacle then is like our own ignorance and indifference. So I agree. Neglecting prayer is a big one. I would also say another obstacle that I guess it would qualify as preparatory is you don't have any non-Christian relationships or friends.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have different levels of this, right? I know Jen really didn't have non-Christian friends until she started going to the gym and joining jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Then she had all these non-Christian friends, and she thought this
all
was
these
super
guys
cool.
wanted to get to know her.
And it's really weird.
They just become friends.
How come it's all dudes? What's that all about?
Dude, I love that we just set each other up without even skipping a beat.
There's a couple of ladies in there too. So yeah, it's funny because like if you don't, most people have to create the environment or find the environment to step into where I'm going to have these relationships.
Yes.
Now it can be at work for a lot of people, but like if you don't work in a secular environment, then you really have to go out of your way to find that. So gotta have some non-Christian friends. Look for opportunities. Join a bowling league, book club, hang out at the local coffee shop, strike up conversations, get to know some people, but find a way to connect with non-Christians. If you don't have those relationships, if you're not in an environment where you can meet people like that, then that's an obstacle to sharing the gospel.
And I'm sure there's more, but for our time today, I think the final obstacle in preparing and not being prepared, I guess, is really no basic training.
Yeah.
And this is not just on you. This is actually on the local church.
100%.
This is on the local church. We should be, as pastors, as ministers, we should be preparing our people and shepherding them in how to witness and how to evangelize, and to be reaching out to those that God has brought into their lives, right? And I think this is where I'm not trying to do a soapbox thing, but I think this is where a frustration I feel and a conflict I feel, where often we're satisfied as leaders with numeric or growth, right? But it's more transfer growth.
Right.
It's someone leaving another church or moving into the area, right?
Yeah.
Where what really excites and should be like driving us is this growth, not because of numbers and giving, but because that numbers is a reflection upon the evangelism that God's people are doing in the community that God has placed us in, right? And I think that's where I get excited for it.
Yeah, we should be excited, motivated, enthusiastic about it. And listen, we're always going to say anybody can share the gospel. If you've been born again, you can share what you know. But that doesn't mean you don't need to be trained. We do. We need to be taught. We need to be taught how to pray. We need to be taught how to share the gospel. And that's That's, I think, pretty fundamental, right? We believe in that. And that's why we're doing the conference, Reforming Evangelism. That's why we're talking about this stuff today. We want to encourage you guys, like, let this be the year where we all, and I'm speaking about me and Jimmy, but all of us, let this be a year where we all really rekindle a passion for telling people about Jesus. Let's be more passionate about articulating the gospel than we are articulating our political opinions, our social commentary. Let's be really excited about this fundamental mission that God has given the church.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter @DocandDevo or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, doctrinedevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast at the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. We got that fresh pot every Monday and Thursday. We got blog posts and video content over at the website. And we've got that all-access exclusive content. We got Banter of Truth on Tuesdays, Weekday Wisdom Monday through Friday. Head on over to doctrinedevotion.com /all access to sign up today. Later.
Woot woot.